My wife is angry at me and I don't know why. She is probably right to be mad. We have a medical assistant for our disabled kid. The assistant used to be a close friend to my wife, but lately that hasn't been the case for several reasons. One, that my wife feels she takes too many liberties. My wife has spoken to her about it. Otherwise, she is a good assistant when it comes to taking care of our kid. Today we had to make some changes about where our kid was going to be. The plan was to take our kid to kindergarten with the assistant. The assistant went there before we could call and tell her that we had changed plans. We couldn't get a hold of her until a couple of minutes after she started. She had been waiting in the parking lot of the kindergarten. When she finally came to our home, I apologized and that made my wife furious. I didn't think much of it. I just said sorry that we had to change plans and couldn't get a hold of you. In the car to our job, my wife basically screamed at me for apologizing, saying that there is no wonder that she takes liberties because I do things like apologizing when it wasn't our fault. She rarely gets angry like that. If I would have raised my voice like that, she would have been so hurt. She said that the assistant was not answering the phone because she was talking with another mom in the parking lot and she should have been inside of the kindergarten. When I said that one time she took our kid at the parking lot and entered the kindergarten alone with her because I had to hurry for work, she got even angrier. She did this in front of our kids. I sent her a message after leaving her at work and apologized for apologizing to the assistant, and it was only once I let her enter with our kid without me. I don't understand the big deal, but I am not very smart, so I guess I am missing something. I'm at work with anxiety knowing that I won't hear from her all day, and then at home she will get angry again and tell me how wrong I am. I can't say anything in my defense because it will be seen as me wanting to defend the assistant, and that will make her even more angry. I just have to bow my head and apologize until she calms down. It sucks, but again, I'm not very smart, so I guess I am missing something. Just needed to tell someone. Comment. Some people apologize only when they are accepting fault/blame for something. Like, I'm sorry I knocked the Ming vase off your end table. Other people apologize for that, but also apologize when something happens that upsets someone. Part of it is a language thing, but the other part is empathy. OP is showing empathy. His wife, for whatever reason, and it likely extends into their marriage, is not showing empathy for the assistant. Her anger seems misplaced. However, Women 101 dictates that it is never about the one event. My guess is they are having a falling out and doesn't want this woman around anymore. Either that or you are missing something. It's entirely possible that she told him exactly why, but he doesn't agree with the reasoning, so he cannot understand. All he sees is his wife yelling at him, and he doesn't know why because he might not be a very good listener. There is nothing else in this story to indicate that his wife is abusive, but there is enough to indicate that OP is oblivious to something. Why isn't the aide fired? Because it will complicate their social lives. The aide lies about her own social life, but why do they have a right to know about her social life? His wife could be abusive, or he could be banging the aide and gaslighting his wife. It would really complicate their social life if he fired her and she outed him, right? There is a seemingly intentional absence of meaningful context, and the problem is just weird. My family has done this shit to me my whole life. I just don't understand. You are so mean for telling me that I did something wrong. Why are you yelling at me after I did that thing for the 8th time? After you told me not to by email, over the phone, over text, at Christmas, in front of your wife and kids. His wife should apologize to him and the kids. It could be any one of those things, in addition to the increased dataable amount of stress that comes with having a child disabled enough to have a home health aide. The big thing is that there are never enough home aides for every family that needs them, and a lot of them have compassion fatigue, hate their job, or are unsuitable for the assigned family in some other way. Since no one else is available, they would have to get on a waiting list. If the provider decides your family is difficult, they might start sending less skilled or likable assistants their way. It is very frustrating. Most marriages do not survive having a special needs child. Dude, this is not okay. It's fine to apologize about things even if they're not your fault. It's not okay to yell at your partner in front of your kids. It's not okay to have anxiety about coming home from work and being yelled at by your partner. It's not okay to need to just keep apologizing until your partner calms down. Your wife is angry, but it doesn't help anyone to just be mad about it without talking honestly about why. It sounds like she's angry at her friend for overstepping and taking that anger out on you. Wait, your wife was angry that you apologized to the assistant for changing plans on her literally minutes beforehand? It was in fact you and your wife's fault. The assistant was where she was supposed to be. If you needed to change plans for the day, then that should have been communicated to the assistant days in advance. It doesn't matter if she was talking to others in the parking lot while waiting for your kid. That's irrelevant. OP, you're in an abusive relationship and your wife was way out of line. She f***ed up and is blaming everyone but herself. Story 2. My girlfriend saved me and I love her more than she'll ever realize. My girlfriend and I met as co-workers a couple years ago and have worked in the same store since. From the first time I logged into our scheduling app and saw a picture of her, I felt an attraction to her. We met on my first date and I knew immediately I'd have to keep my distance. I was the new manager for the store and she was an associate. Before going to this job and meeting her, I was in a pretty emotionally abusive relationship. I ended a year prior to this and thought I'd never be capable of a relationship after the damage that was done. I also got laid off 2 months before this job with her, and my lifelong pet died the same night, so I really was just down and feeling like I wasn't worth much. Over the months at the new job, we'd have staff parties and my GF and I started talking more, but always keeping it professional. I actually did too good of a job keeping my distance. She thought I didn't even like her as a coworker. We had a big takeover a year later at work and the new owners came in very aggressive, which kind of pushed all the staff closer. I already absolutely loved my team and lived for my work, so it's not like I didn't want to be close with them, but always wanted to be as professional as possible. A few of us started hanging out and going for drinks/events. She had moved up in the company to a position right below me, so we were talking all the time, and by this point I was already in love with her and just didn't know it. She lived far from our store and was going to be leaving for the winter, so I realized I may actually have a chance to ask her out where it would be acceptable at work, and if she wasn't interested she wouldn't feel awkward at work because it would be 6 months before she came back. This is when I realized it wasn't a chance to ask her out, it was a need to ask her. I had fully fallen for her, and the thought of letting her leave and missing this chance, or her never coming back and finding a new job, would kill me inside regardless if she said yes or no. It was also at this time my mother was diagnosed with terminal cancer and given 2 months to live. What felt like it could be the best thing to happen to me wasn't allowed to be the important thing now. My mother was a single mom and was sick my entire life: lupus, fibroarthritis, COPD, diabetes. The only thing this amazing woman didn't have to deal with was cancer, and now it got her too. Over the next month I spent every other night with my mother while telling only my GF, who was not my GF, and 2 other co-workers I trusted, so they would know why I would be spotty with being around and they could pick up the slack while I was gone. During this month I tried to work up the nerve to ask her out so many times. It felt unfair that life was trying to take my mother and this potential partner that I knew I cared about so much. When I finally did ask her to go to dinner, just the 2 of us, casually, not like a date, she said yes and then proceeded to puke a little while later and went home early. Thinking that was a pretty obvious sign, but knowing I still never actually asked her on a real date, I finally dug up the courage when it was just us 2 working. I told her the real reason I asked her to dinner was to ask her out on a real date, and she said that was really cute and she'd like that. At this point my mother was in hospice and only had a couple weeks left, but I had told her about this girl before she even got her diagnosis, so when I told her we had started dating she immediately wanted to meet her. We had only been dating a week when I asked her. Knowing it's hard to meet parents this early in a regular relationship, let alone in a situation where your parent is dying, but she said of course without any hesitation. When my mom and her met, it was my mom's last clear day. She was in and out before this day, but she had a really good day that day and I couldn't have been happier for them to meet then. I could see the happiness on my mother's face. She told my GF she already loved her, thanked her for coming, and asked her to take care of me when she's gone. I felt like that's too soon to be saying stuff like that, but my GF insisted. We've been friends for 2 years, it's different for us, and she would be there for me no matter what. I already knew I loved this amazing woman, but this just made me know I'm gonna marry her one day. My mom passed a week later, and true to her word, she came the morning it happened to the hospice, helped me get a new suit for the funeral, and was there by my side through the visitation with awkward family convo, drunk exes showing up, and held my hand through the service. I have never felt love for a partner the way I felt it for this absolutely outstanding woman, and I wish I could tell her every day. We've skipped some relationship steps and I want to enjoy every part of it, from awkward conversations to the build-up when we both know we love each other but haven't said it, when we decide to move in together, and eventually when I propose to her one day. This is something I can't really tell my guy friends and I can't tell my partner yet, but I need someone to know that this amazing and beautiful person pulled me out of one of in the darkest time of my life. I'll spend every day of the rest of my life giving her what she gave me. She is truly remarkable and I'm going to give her the world. Story 3. This time of year always makes me jealous of my younger sisters. A little background info. I grew up in an extremely blended family. My dad had 4 kids: Adam, Brooke, James, and me, from his first marriage to our mother, who passed away when I was 4 years old. My dad then started dating my stepmom, Donna. Donna had 2 kids of her own from her first marriage, Eric and Ashley. My dad and Donna married when I was 7 years old. They went on to have my younger twin sisters, Amber and Abby, when I was 9 years old. I grew up in hand-me-downs and sharing a room with my older sisters. My parents were old-fashioned and super strict on all of us, especially my dad, who was in the army. We had detailed routines and chore charts. Between us kids, we did all of the household chores such as laundry, cooking, deep cleaning. They would both come through double, triple checking everything that we would do. Like, they would get down to eye level with the kitchen counter, and if a crumb was found, we would have to re-clean the entire kitchen until we got it right. This time of year always reminds me of how strict they were, making sure everything is clean and in its place for guests coming over. The house had to sparkle. One December when I was 11, my parents gave me a small gift-wrapped box telling me it was an early Christmas present. I never got surprises like this, and I was so excited, but I opened the box to find it filled with dog poop. One of my additional chores was to make sure to walk the dog, and I guess I was a little late that day and the dog had an accident in the house, and my parents thought the best way to bring it to my attention was to gift wrap it. I was told that was the only early gift I had deserved. I hate surprises to this day. All of my older siblings moved out and started families of their own in different states, as far away as most of them could get. I didn't make it as far. I only moved to the next town over, as I was originally worried for my younger sisters. But now that only Amber and Abby are in the house, it is so painfully obvious that my parents absolutely adore them in a way they never did with any of us older kids. Like, they are my sisters and I love them, but I'm so jealous of the childhood they are getting. My parents are older now and retired and not having to keep up with so many kids, just the twins, and I understand that, but they hired a maid and order those meal prep boxes and send their clothes out to laundry services. My sisters have never had to do chores in their entire life. They have never had to scrub baseboards all day or cry out of frustration from having to clean the same cup for the 5th time because somehow it's still not passing inspection, or getting backhanded for rolling their eyes or sighing too loud. They don't know the feeling of hearing one of their cars pull into the driveway and just feeling your stomach drop. This time of year just amplifies my feelings. Pictures of them all smiling in matching pajamas, decorating the tree and making gingerbread houses together flood my feeds. I watch my sisters now unwrap surprise gift boxes from our parents of new clothes or a new phone or something that they thought the twins would like. And it makes me so extremely jealous. I wanted that, even just half of that. They're just this perfect, happy little family now. The kindness and the happy memories they are making are things I never imagined my parents to be capable of. When the twins talk about our parents, it's like they are talking about strangers. I'm glad they are getting a happier childhood than I did, but it's bittersweet to see what could have been.